Okay. Am I already live? Okay. I guess this is what this is today. Trying this again. Where is my channel? Just need to see if I'm actually live currently. Yes, somebody at least sees me live. I'm not seeing the stream update to I'm gonna lower the music a little bit. Because I don't know if this is working. Okay. Just let me guys know if this is showing to you guys. I'm trying to find it in my own channel. Like, I don't know how people would be able to locate this live stream. Okay. Sorry guys. I think I maybe found what was wrong. I unplugged and plugged back in the microphone cord, and then it recognized the microphone. But before that, it was just giving static noise, which was kind of leading me to believe that it's some kind of connection issue. I'm just afraid that I will bump the microphone accidentally or something now. I will label the stream properly after it's done. It just picked up some random thumbnail and name for the live stream now. Well, I was nervous about going live after a long time, so this is probably the worst thing that could happen. So the only way is up, I guess. Is that being optimistic or pessimistic? I don't even know. Trying to use more of the screen. Okay, I'm really sorry, but sometimes this just happens. let's just try to paint and enjoy this now that things are working. Please let me know if the music is too loud or too low. I can adjust it quite easily from here. That shouldn't affect the microphone in any way. I'm gonna like slap in some colors and maybe get an idea for what this is. Feel free to see what you see in this mess. That would help a lot. The thing is that for this microphone, the plug, it's really heavy duty, so I'm kind of surprised that it can kind of be unsecurely plugged in at all. It's so thick, and the clips that hold it in place, it literally clicks in place. So it's not like it's somehow loosely jiggling around there. Strange that it would need, like the fact that I unplugged it and plugged it back in and then it started working perfectly. I think it's really strange that that fixes it. But now that we're all here, how is everybody? It's been some time since we've spoken. A lot has happened since then. I went to teach art in a game school, and then I also went into a video game jam in that school. I was invited there to judge the demos that the students had made, and I got to play all of them, and I heard all of the pitches. It was so much fun. The game school is quite far away from here, so all of my days were just mostly spent in the train when I wasn't teaching, and then preparing for the next class. And I've been just in this limbo trying to multitask everything. It has been kind of insane. Where are these layers? Nothing. It was a great experience, and it's such a privilege to be able to play those games. I think the most kind of scary part about the whole thing is that the video game projects are so done. I mean, these are not just vertical slices, they have character designs and world designs and art direction sometimes pretty nailed down for some of these demos, and some are just focusing on getting the core gameplay loop working. And when you see that it's working, you kind of assume that, like, okay, you're launching on Steam Early Access, right? And then some of the students were like, yeah, this is just an experiment that, like, this probably won't go anywhere, but it has been fun to do for this game jam. And I've been just like, you need to release it because it's so close to being finished. I think some students just don't understand, like, the achievement that they have made when they have something like that working. I think for some, like, they might not, like, realize the power of, like, having a really good, just, like, really fun game, and I think they end up in this sort of, like, weird crap where they compare themselves to, like, triple or double A studios and thinking about, like, all of those different features that they would put in if they had those skills and the budget and the talent to do that. But a lot of really good games are just good because they know what they are not. Like, just doing one thing really well, you can get, like, further than 90% of the competition. And even competition that has pretty much unlimited budget. Having that focus is just an incredible advantage when developing any type of a game. And you never know, like, what kind of a game takes off. Like, as somebody who has been designing art styles for games, I'm gonna put the headphones on now. If you want the music to be louder, just let me know in the chat. I can see the chat here on screen and on my phone. You can hear my producer is singing. We're all so lucky. Kiitos Vivi, hienosti meni. she's been really good today. Maybe there's also a bed here for you if you want. No. She chose the one further away. But I guess that's my fault for arranging it so that she has like 5 different dog beds around the apartment. It just reduces the chances that she will choose one that is closest to me. I'm not quite sure. I kind of like those hints of pink showing somewhere. The overall color palette is this sort of like rainbowy. I saw 2 rainbows today, by the way, like just before this. That was pretty cool. Anumbaig is saying, also sending love from Canada. Thank you from the Canadian love. So Anumbaig is saying, do you see yourself painting portraits? Maybe. Maybe. If I think about like painting portraits, the only portraits that I have done are mostly in oil paint. So if I had to say, like, if I had to start painting a portrait right now, I would probably choose oils and not digital, if that makes sense. It's pretty easy for me to think of a way that I would do it with oils, but digitally, I don't know if that same style would work. Maybe it could work. I mean, my digital painting style has come closer and closer to my oil painting style over the years. I mean, like, obviously I can paint digitally better than I can paint with oils, but the brushstroke rhythm and everything that I have learned from oil painting when it comes to art, I think a lot of that is now part of the way that I paint. Why are you asking? Do you want me to paint portraits? Do you draw fan art often? Never. I never do fan art, ever. I have done like the few concept art design challenges, but those are never to do like existing art, but use existing projects to do visual design that would fit those projects if I was working on those games. So I guess like you could say that it's fan art, but it's not repeating anything that already exists. I guess like I worked as a concept artist for so long that to me just the idea of doing something that is basically done already, because for me the work is the design and the look, and the painting is just a way to convey those ideas to the audience. The image itself is worthless, like it has absolutely no value, but the idea and the way that I depict those ideas and design around the visual challenges that the project presents, I think that to me is the work. And the painting, it's just a byproduct of that work. Does that make sense? And when I'm doing stuff like that, I'm playing the game in my head all the time. And this is something that I've had. I think a lot of the teaching sessions that I did at school, they were basically just trying to hammer this concept into the student's head, is that you should be playing the game in your head all the time when you are painting concept art for it. It makes it so much easier to sell the idea when it comes time to pitch your idea, and then when you're doing production, you have already kind of like foreseen what kind of visual problems you need to tackle and solve with your concept art. But if you don't do that work like constantly, then it will surprise you at some point. Just how much dead ends you can do for yourself by just thinking about the painting as a painting and not as a part of a whole. So, hello, tired Finnish dad. Also, sorry that I messed up the start of this stream. I guess the microphone was plugged wrong. Finnish dad is saying, I think the kids will keep me busy, but at least no night shifts and maybe a bit more time to paint. That sounds good. I think time to paint for me is pretty big, because as I've been doing teaching and preparing for the classes and reviewing the homework and grading the students, I haven't had that much time to paint myself. I did have some time to paint on the train, but other than that, I've also been working on the Baltic Sea video series that I am editing and I've shot with the people involved in that. So now it's just up to me to basically put the edit together with this scientist that I'm doing it with. And it's a lot of footage. Today I've been cutting down like 1 hour of different interviews that has already been cut down from like 3 hours of different sessions. It's a lot of stuff, but it's super interesting. And I feel like we're doing something good with this. Like other university students are going to see this, and it's going to be used as learning materials for people interested in protecting the Baltic Sea and working with the different stakeholders to get cooperation going with all the different regions and governments. It's not simple, and I do think that like having this sort of resource will be helpful, and gathering information from like it's like wide variety of different professionals. I think it's just there aren't that many resources that would be able to do that. So I think it's really good. And I'm literally just a video guy. I have I take no credit in getting this project done. I have to do the video stuff. I'm seeing like some kind of a creature with a fin here. like not yet sure like what that is, like some kind of a blob, feel free to chip in with ideas. I really want to get this painting going. Wow, is that thunder? Kaikki on ihan ok. Tää turvassa. Oh dog. She can't control everything, even though she tries. Tony B F4E is saying, I've been watching you for years. Wish I had money because my favorite artist still trying to get her to your level. I've got the mess part down. The way you paint. Oh. I think everybody has their own way of painting. The way that I kind of search ideas in a colorful mess, that works for me when I don't have any ideas and I like the discovery in the painting process. And I like leaving the discovery in the painting itself, because I just think that it can make a painting sort of more dynamic when it's not fully explained through. I don't think there's anything wrong with paint strokes, and when you see the way that the painting has been painted, if that method of painting makes sense for the message that you are creating, I think paint strokes can enhance the story a lot. It's just about knowing where and what kind of brushstrokes you can and should leave in. That can be a little bit tricky. I haven't done a lot of downloads on the membership of this channel in the last few months, I'll be honest, but I've been focusing on the educational content. So for example, recently I released this new art lecture about brushstroke grouping and leaving unfinished areas as a composition tool. And those aren't edited videos like my normal videos on the channel are, where I'm caring about the retention and stuff. Like, they are just exactly like my art classes that I do for my students. In fact, that is information that I gathered from like one class lecture that I did recently. And it's about like 30-minute talk with few examples, almost like slides that you would see in an art lecture, just in video format, because that way I can leave it on the channel for all future members that like sign up to my membership here. on this channel, and then they will have access to those sort of art lessons. They wouldn't ever work in the normal YouTube algorithm because I'm literally not trying to hold anyone's attention. I'm just trying to deliver the information as plainly and clearly as possible, like I would do in an art class. And I think that that has value because like you can't find that elsewhere on YouTube, basically. And I think a lot of painters who do like art videos on YouTube, like just teaching art is such a different skill. I do appreciate when somebody's like able to put together a compelling and interesting video, but sometimes that can be a distraction from the actual information. So I wanted to come up with that kind of format that would allow me to teach art like I would teach art in an art class, basically. And I know that that's not something that everybody on YouTube who is watching my channel wants or needs, but for those that do, I'm really happy that I now have several lectures on like different aspects of art that I have added to the membership that are like that. And many of them also have art assignments, so if you want to practice the information, most of the lectures also have some kind of assignments associated with them. Like this one also, like the last slides have a ton of different art assignments if you want to put that information into practice. I think it also makes it easier for me to do like different content for the members than my normal YouTube videos here. That way I don't feel like the normal members who have like joined, I mean like the normal subscribers of this channel, that they are missing out on something when I make those, because YouTube algorithm definitely wouldn't push those videos to them anyway. It's really coming down, like it's really raining heavily because I can hear it all the way here. There's some kind of a blob in there. I just need some sort of warm colors too. It's a little bit monochrome in tone, this whole thing. I thought I picked green. Is this green? Turtle swimming next to coral. I can kind of see the turtle now that you mentioned it. It's like a shell that we are looking at. I don't know if I see it the way that you do, but I do see a turtle shape there in the middle. By the way, I got this mug from the school. They should sponsor me because I would be... I would freely talk highly of them. I mean, like, they don't have to sponsor me. Like, if you want to learn game design or game art or any aspect of game development, go to Kouvola XAMK. It's a really great school. Great students. Absolutely great vibe there as well. So do that. You know what I think that like social media is currently missing? And I know that this is gonna sound absolutely terrible, but hear me out. We have some time before I get anywhere with this painting, honestly. We need a subject, for example. So, what I think that social media is missing, and I know that I'm gonna lose some of you here, is that people should recommend things that they like. And I know that you are thinking that like as an ad, but no, that's exactly what I don't mean. Like, I want people recommending products and experiences that they like, that they are not getting paid anything for. Like, somebody just, for example, if they have really good running shorts and they use them and they are not some sort of like a Lululemon brand that is sponsoring them, like, just say that. You don't need to be sponsored. You can just like a thing and recommend it to the people that are following you for that thing. I would find that like way more interesting information than having some sort of like formal review or sponsored post about it. That to me just immediately sounds super fake. So I'm just gonna say some things that are never going to sponsor me on this channel because they have nothing to do with art. But I recently trained for a marathon, and for the second time I used this app, by the way, which is absolutely free. So there's no reason to sponsor me because there's no money to put into this. But it's called Run with Hal. And I've been trying to train for marathons for years after the first one that I did, and I've always injured myself. But this absolutely 100% free application that I paid €0 for was able to get me to the running fitness so that I could complete marathons again. And I'm just super grateful. I mean, there's no product to buy. It's just improved my life, like, immensely. So if you're into running, try that. I highly recommend it, and I promise you I'm not getting paid a single cent from saying that that's a really good product to use. I guess the Tony B is asking if I'm on Instagram, not if I'm in Iceland. So yes, I'm on Instagram. I'm on everything with the same name, but Instagram is the one that I use the most. I should use Blue Sky more. I never use Threads because it just feels like everything on Threads is just a copy-paste from Instagram. So why would I open Threads for anything? But if I go on Blue Sky, then there is something like interesting to be found through the different posts. I guess Blue Sky just requires a little bit more agency, which I think is a great thing. It just doesn't push random garbage to you by default. You kind of have to work on your algorithm for it to be interesting. Also, speaking of running, I did run a marathon just now. There was a marathon event in Helsinki and I went. This was now the third time that I have done that marathon, and I finished in 4 hours and 29 seconds, which I know that it sounds like, couldn't you just break 4 hours when you are so close? But I'm fairly confident that there is not a bone in my body that could have gone faster, because I was so close to cramping after the first 30k. So, and I think that cramping is just fitness. When you're used to a certain distance, you don't cramp on that distance. So I think, I'm not saying that I got unlucky because I felt like I'm going to cramp soon. I think it's just I hadn't trained enough at those speeds on those distances to be able to go under 4 hours. But it definitely made me feel like it's not that far, right? It's just half a minute. I might be able to do that someday. I'm not super fast, and I'm not obsessed about my speed either. I'm just one of those old-fashioned people that I still think that it's a really big deal to just run the entire distance. I think we are now getting bombarded with all of these just amazing achievements by people on social media, that they are running a marathon every single day of the week or something like that, and then we just perceive that as to be the new normal. But I still think that like anyone who just runs the entire thing, I think that's pretty cool achievement. And I don't know, I've just been absolutely buzzing about it the entire week after. I wore my medal for like 2 days and the running shirt as well. It's just something that gives me so much joy. And I feel so grateful that my body is able to run at all, because I know that for so many, like, they don't have that option. So I'm just very actively happy and enjoy. I'm grateful for my body for being able to move at all. Let's try and find that turtle shape. To do it with the arc tool. Try not to create a perfect arc, a little bit more of like bump in the first part of the turtle. These sort of organic shapes in perspective to me are always super difficult. maybe a bigger head, way bigger head. I can always scale it down if it's too much. Just want to have a little bit more chunkier head. Not cartoony, but somewhat stylized. There's some kind of edge of a shell, then it curves around, be downwards. I don't know. This kind of signifies at which angle this is floating here. Sometimes when you're painting, I just want to like run away from all the important decisions and just paint. Unfortunately, at this stage, so much of painting is just decisions that you really can't run away from all of them. It's not a good practice and I don't recommend it. Sometimes I just want to like doodle a little bit more. And the painting would like me to. I'm gonna find a little bit more oomph in this color. I'm gonna duplicate it and set it into overlay blend mode. Maybe find a warmer variation. Add a little bit more color depth in there. And start building those layers to have that interesting texture. Wrap it, this light over the dome. Might as well use it for the head as well, as I already have this gradient. It might be useful. Then I could bring in a cooler light by color picking something from the sea itself. Maybe cooler steel could be better. Let's see how this works. I think it's pretty good. It's kind of setting it in the scene. I'm just gonna nudge it a little bit. Now I see a crab creature in the middle. Where is the crab creature? How are you doing, Mikko? Now I'm doing well. I'm having my first run after the marathon tomorrow. It's just 6 kilometers, but I'm so happy that I get to do it. I've been going kind of stir crazy at home because you sort of develop this feeling that you must be running. And then suddenly it all just stops into a wall. But I am still following the program even though the event is over, and it very clearly states that like all of these days are just purely for not doing anything productive and just recovering. So I am reluctantly following it at this point. There's something interesting in that. I don't know. I'm gonna remove it for now. This seems like it's bringing in that vibrancy a little bit that I was looking for. This brush is so easy to use for this sort of stuff. And it's perfect for this sort of like doodly, I'm gonna figure it out as I go. And at the same time it works with all of these gradients. So even though I'm getting to the point in this series of live streams where I'm going through each brush from my oil painting brushes set, that I kind of need to pick specific ones so that I'm completing the entire thing. Even still, like this just happened to be the right one for this style of a painting. I really didn't know what this would even be, but it looks like we're somewhat on the right track. right layer? No. No. Try and find that over for the shell. About the contours of the shell. This is my only moment where I can sort of hint at a perspective here. This is probably not what turtles look like, but it's one of those things that like where it seems so easy and enticing to go into sort of like design mode and not do a turtle as they appear in real life, but like do just like one, the way that I feel like doing a turtle today. I kind of can't resist that call. I'm doing a little bit of texture by just like dabbing in texture, basically. This is not thinking about the contour or anything, it's just to add visual variety. Especially since I put in all those gradients, that just makes everything look like super smooth and airbrushed and kind of bad. Bad look to have. This turtle looks fairly close to the sea turtles near Florida. They have more pointier beak and not round eyes. Okay. I used to watch barnacle removal for turtle videos. Doing a turtle that has like a coral reef on its back, I think that could be cool. This is too small for that, but definitely I should look into it. Like that sounds like an idea that I could enjoy. Pointier beak. It always sort of surprises me that they have a beak at all. I think I'm in that phase of my turtle painting career that I don't know enough about turtles to be super creative with them. So right now, for me, it's just trying to think like, what is a turtle? I think what you said earlier is a good idea for me to maybe Google this Florida sea turtle. Sea turtle. At least that's a real species that I can use for reference. I think it's crazy like how often I get the question that like, do you use references, and then people still having this idea that they feel somehow guilty about using references. I don't know where that comes from. But it seems like as long as I've been making YouTube videos, there's always somebody asking if I use references, and somebody like confessing that like they are still unable to let go of references. It's like, it's not a phase, guys. You're not gonna grow out of that. Like anything that you haven't put into your visual library, it's not gonna be there. So you're gonna need to do it every single time. And it's not a bad thing. That can make your art better. So maybe it's more fun if you just stop apologizing for just doing very normal art practice. I don't remember seeing Procreate not in dark mode. What process are you using? I'm only using the one brush from my oil set, and it's this feather tip, and it's the one that I'm using for the entire painting. This entire live stream is gonna be in a playlist. If you check my channel, the playlist has one video for each one of the brushes in this set, and for each of those paintings I've only been using one brush, because that's the way that I like to use my process, so that people don't need to think about using process when they are using said process, so that they can focus on the painting itself. So this set is designed for just mixing colors on the canvas itself, and all of these mixing qualities work best when the colors that you want to mix exist on that same layer. So I have different layers here, but if I want to use the mixing quality, I get the most out of that if the colors that I want to mix are on the same layer. And it's great if you like to block in the colors and the vibe of the entire painting first, because that's when you get the most out of that entire blending technique. Random question for anyone. Is time speeding up? As you get older, yes, time does speed up. You have less and less time to do the things that you wanted to accomplish in your lifetime. So it's better to start as early as possible. If you ever wanna be an artist and do paintings, now is the best time to actually do something about it and get your paintings published online. You don't need anyone's permission to do it, and you don't need to be on a certain skill level to do it. But the older you get, the more scared of starting new things you will become. You will think that I'm too old for X or Y, and then it might feel like you would need to be on a certain skill level to be able to show your work at all. And all of that is gonna start feeling scarier and scarier. But even publishing your art is something that you can get better at by just doing it. And you will notice that it's actually pretty amazing to be able to connect with people around the world with the work you make. I'm not going to say that you will have immediately a huge audience, but for meaningful connections, you don't need to reach everybody. You just need to reach your people. And I think definitely that is something that anyone is capable of doing by just posting their art. I'm not gonna even say consistently, but just post it. Like whenever it's done, whenever you feel it's ready enough to be published, publish it. have been thinking about what should the next art lesson video on the membership be. So if you're a member and you're looking at this, please let me know. But I have pretty solid idea, at least of like one thing that I want to turn into an art lecture that I think would be something that would always be beneficial for people to check out. Can you hear the music okay? I just think that this, whatever this track is, kind of sounds underwatery. I'm trying to come up with like a squiggly way of using brushstrokes to get that sort of like spotted look on the skin. Aren't there some sort of like stripes on the belly side as well? At this point, I really do need to just walk the walk and really quickly Google what those sea turtles look like. Okay, so they definitely have spots. They're very high contrast, these spots. I see a belly side of this thing. Does they have some kind of pattern? I think it just looks light. Almost like the bottom of a crab. Okay. maybe I shouldn't make that the major feature of this painting then. See, you can look at reference without making your entire painting that reference picture. You can just take a peek and then continue doing what you're doing and just listen what the painting needs. Also remember that like I have no interest in doing like an accurate depiction of what specific species looks like. Just what I feel like doing today. Now, you might have different goals, and it's completely fine if you want to do a painting that looks exactly like the thing that you are currently studying to add to your visual library. That's a completely valid approach. Let's do some caustics to get a little bit of more mood going on here. I'm gonna do a new layer and let's just go into noise. This is kind of closer to caustics. I want it to be kind of blobby, like this. I'm gonna want to have a lot of texture to play around with, so I'm just gonna set the scale here. And then let that be. And now I'm going to copy this. Maybe not yet. I probably wanna drop it on a black layer first. Okay, so let's just use it in add mode first to see that it's scaled down in the right way. Go into freeform, take some perspective with this. In fact, I might want to use this with the upper part as well, so I'm just gonna duplicate it and leave it there. Once you have a nice texture and you might need it again, just having a safety net like that is so helpful, so that you don't waste time doing the same assets multiple times. Just takes a lot of time and just can feel quite frustrating. Nobody's going to be able to tell that this is a copy anyway. Going to warp mode and then like really crunching it down. This is an undulating ocean floor. It's not a straight floor anyway. So I want to highlight that. Okay. Now what I said that about using this as a mask, I want to drop this on a black layer. And what I now have on this layer is this. So now I'm going to go and copy this. Just use this layer. Make sure that it's empty. And then add a mask. And then just go on the mask layer. And there I'm gonna add paste. Now I have that mask on this layer. Let's just remove this and then use the light color to fill this entire thing. We're getting closer to something that looks somewhat presentable, but I think it's still too hard. I'm gonna go into the mask and do a horizontal motion blur. And then also a small Gaussian blur to blur it into all directions. Okay. I'm just gonna put this into add blend mode and lower the opacity. Actually, instead of lowering the opacity, I can just manipulate the color to not be as bright. That way I can manually paint brighter spots on this and add kind of hue variety, which is gonna look more interesting than just having it all be one single color. So like this. Different spots where the sunlight is piercing the surface. And maybe also darker spots where I don't want it to be as visible. Now I have quite a bit hue variety in those caustics. I think that's pretty good. I'm just duplicating that same thing so that I can use it on the turtle shell. I'm pulling it up on the turtle. Right here. Then using warp tool to really just like bend it over the shell. Wherever it's distracting, I can always paint on the mask with black to remove it. I only want it visible in some parts. And I want this to be like one more feature that will highlight the shape, the shell itself. I'm adding a mask, inverting it, and then painting with almost white on areas where I want to have that texture. And it's adding one more layer of that hue variety. We have a new Angry Mob member. Welcome. Tired Finnish dad. Absolutely. It's important that you don't like become so tired that you don't show up to this, so go and have some proper rest. You deserved it. Okay. Where are we? We are definitely underwater. I don't know, if I'm honest, what's happening with that surface. It's looking sort of neon-y. But at the same time, I sort of don't hate how expressive it is. Maybe this I can lose. I would love to be doing barnacle removal on sea turtles. That sounds like fun. I wonder if they bite. It says they have a pretty strong looking beak. They probably can bite pretty hard. I have the same brush in all the different tools currently, by the way, so this smudge and erase, they all have the same feather tip brush. we're kind of like seeing a distorted view of the sky through the surface. I don't know if it's following like the rules of light, but I think this is just one of those areas where I can just go more expressive with colors as well. And more focus on like how it feels. I think the one cool thing about doing underwater scenes is that you can always sort of invent your own brushstroke rhythms, and they might even look like some actual substantial things. I think it's both a fun like painting technique challenge and at the same time sort of like visual design exploration idea where you can come up with interesting shapes. That could be just, I'm always looking for that shape language that would trigger the sort of adventure exploration mode of the viewer, not just myself, but to have the viewer, you know, dive into my paintings and find new worlds and understand the inner logic of it all. There are so many times when people clearly understand my paintings on a like much more concrete level than I do. I think that's always super cool. I think the one cool thing about like being part of like the interview shooting situations of this video series that I've been making is that to hear all these professionals and scientists and economists clearly like dedicate so much of their life into not preserving something that they can see, but pretty much all of it of the Baltic Sea is happening underneath the surface. So I just admire like having that level of empathy towards something that is so far removed from your everyday life. I think it just shows that some people are just built different, that they can do so much good from such completely selfless perspective. And they've been working on those things and trying to get the very complicated multinational contracts and agreements to happen for decades, and they still have so much passion for it. That's something that I really admire. How did you mirror your iPad? With Zoom. We are in my Zoom meeting. Now it's just one single Procreate brush. I'm not using multiple brushes. I'm only using a feather tip from my oil set. Only this like one single brush for the entire painting. I think if I had spent, let's say, a third of this time switching between different brushes, all of the design work that I've been doing, I think it would all be just worse. I'm not saying that everybody works like this. Just for me, like when I don't need to think about the tools and I can just focus on the painting, I think for me it's much more interesting to see how the painting is painted by me and by my hand, not what some brush does to the painting. Because then if it's one of those brushes that just creates like patterns or textures, then everybody will get the same results if they use those brushes. But this brush, even though of course like it's a great product and I highly recommend it to everybody, but when I'm using this, I feel like I'm in control, and I truly feel like, let's say that you use the same brush, your painting would look like your painting. It wouldn't look like this. So if you want to use this brush to create this exact same painting, I think it would still end up looking like your piece, because like all of these choices that I'm doing here, how to use these brush strokes, they are just based on how the brush strokes are used, not what the brush itself does. And I think that's the good thing about using simple tools. And you can use anyone's simple tools, like they don't have to be mine. But if you have a brush that kind of does a lot of the texture, then I think there's a danger of the brush kind of overtaking the way that you have the ability to express yourself. And if you're still in the learning phase of art, then I highly recommend using as simple of a brush as you can. I never succeed in talking my art students into using the default round brush, but as close to that as you can will give you the maximum benefit of learning, because then every time that you do a brush stroke, the way that you place it, the size of the brush stroke, the direction of it, what kind of brush strokes are surrounding it, how it's grouped, in what kind of part of the composition, all of those choices are yours to make. But if you're just using some like pre-made texture for those things, all of those things that I just listed, they are not going to be something that you will practice with that painting, and it's all of those skills are something that you're not gonna get better at when you're painting if the brush itself is taking those decisions away from you. I think it's funny that people are calling me Mike. It's fine. It just reminds me of how my father, when we lived around the world, my father also used to just use an English name of himself to introduce himself, because it was just easier in the different places that we lived in. We Finnish people, like, we really aren't fussy about how people pronounce our names. Literally doesn't matter. Should I try some pink streaks here? I think the music is somehow meditative for me. I've gotten into the zone now to just work on the more abstract qualities of the painting as well, and not worry so much about realism. And I think that's always a kind of good painting process for me. Kind of means that I have relaxed into it a little bit. I always saturate my main subject in my paintings, but here you did the opposite. What is the logic behind the saturation distribution? An excellent question. Honestly, to be determined. Now that you mentioned it, I do think that my subject requires a little bit of differentiation through color. So maybe there's not that much of a logic behind it. Maybe it's just a mistake. I'm gonna try to see if some sort of like warmer tone here would bring it up a little bit. Maybe more yellow, so that it's a little bit different to what the surroundings are. Doesn't that make the painting better? I'm sorry if this kind of doesn't answer your question in a satisfying way, but I do think that that just made the entire painting look so much better, and it has this like more cozy kind of separates the subject from the surroundings as well. I think there was also a really good question on one of the membership videos on my recent art lecture about I think it was Selina who said that when she's painting, she's not thinking about like all these complicated, advanced composition techniques, and sometimes, sorry if I'm forgetting like who actually asked this question. I just have a vague recollection that it might have been Selina. That they are just putting the painting together and hoping that it works out, so that they are not thinking about all of the possible like checklists and different ways to compose an image when it's all coming together. And I think that's completely fine. I'm not thinking about every single possibility, what the painting can and should be when I'm putting it together. But every time that I'm running into problems, like when there is, for example, visual information hierarchy problems, or things just look messy and unfocused, it's then when I use sort of like those checklists and different composition methods to think that like maybe I can bring in brushstroke grouping here to clarify things. Maybe my subject color isn't visible enough, like maybe my magnets aren't introducing the rest of the painting to the viewers so that they can see what's happening all around the canvas. But that's not something that you would probably think about when everything is going well and you're just like putting the painting together. But when you run into problems, then it is all of those techniques that I have learned over the years and different art teachers have taught me, like they are worth their weight in gold, especially when I'm working on a commission and somehow like it just seems like it's not coming together, I'm not feeling inspired, and it's looking like a mess. Like instead of just feeling horrified and getting paralyzed like you're being hit by a bus, going through a checklist in those sort of situations is a real help to me, so that I can pinpoint what I can actually fix. When I was thinking about that question, like what immediately came to my mind is that when a photographer takes a photograph, it's a split second when they decide to press the trigger, but yet somehow all of those years of composition practice, the leading lines, the directions people are looking at, the values, how they are placed, the masses, the different types of texture contrasts, and the way that light is interacting with those surfaces on that very moment when they press the shutter, all of that information still ends up in the final photograph of a professional photographer when they press the button. They have just done the mistakes so many times that they have kind of put that information into their muscle memory in a way that it's not even conscious anymore. So I don't want to say that like by default I somehow excel at these things, but now after painting for tens of thousands of hours by now, there are elements in painting that are from those sort of composition checklists that end up in my paintings without even thinking about it. That doesn't mean that it has always been that way. Especially these more advanced composition techniques, like I covered in the previous art lecture, those are definitely things that require actual planning, and you can paint them afterwards into your painting as well. It's just like some high-level composition techniques are so specific to the situations where they are suitable that you shouldn't feel bad that you didn't automatically think about them in the moment when you were planning your painting. That's completely normal. I kind of want to do some flowers, but we are underwater, and I'm just thinking that whose permission am I exactly waiting to put in these flowers? So here goes. Feel free to complain to the website that I have dedicated to people who are complaining about the inaccurate biological events happening in my paintings. I'm sure that email address will be absolutely bombarded with furious 1 million moms emails. In other words, nobody cares. Just do the damn flowers if you want to do the damn flowers. I still remember that one game project that I was working on where one of the artists and game designers wrote in a public email about the game project that we should remove the flowers that I have painted into the game because he thought that they are embarrassing. It's just, this is like one email that one dude sent years and years ago that I still think about over and over. It's so silly. Of course, like I fully think that had nothing to do with the flowers at all. I think it was this sort of like political gameplay movement to try to diminish my position in that one project, because that is what game industry is sometimes. I'm gonna be honest that I definitely think that this should have tons and tons of different types of fish, but right now I'm not sure I'm able to do that. I am kind of horrified that I will accidentally ruin the painting now. Which is of course not a reason not to do it. It's just, I'm not immune to the pressures of painting while other people are watching. I wish that there was a way for me to paint with you guys so that you could show your painting in the stream, or I could somehow like pull that up on my screen. I think that would be super cool, because I've heard so often that other people are painting when they are watching this. And I just think it would be super cool to be able to show that. And then people could talk about not just like what I'm doing here, because like who cares, but what you guys are painting. kind of getting into that underwater swimming vacation mode here, and I think that means that the painting is working for me. I think the turtle looks kind of cute in its own weird way. A scumbling technique. Invent a texture pattern. Tummy section. You got me working. Okay. At least somebody is painting. That's cool to hear. Discord allows multiple streams. So could I stream on Discord? I don't have paid Discord. By the way, the person who joined the membership, like there is a Discord on this channel. So just check one of the community posts and it's almost always there. The ones that are posted for the membership, the Discord invite link is there. But you do need to connect your Discord to your YouTube channel because the system automatically checks for the membership. So that I don't need to like manually do that because that would be just too much work. I'm always trying to manage the amount of work that I am putting into these things because it's always away from something else. It's always less videos or less time working on art courses or what have you. My company is literally just me. So when I'm not working on some specific thing, absolutely zero progress on that single thing is happening. So I've just become like very aware of my time. I think the best thing about the membership for me has been that like when I started the membership, I didn't commit to like any one specific thing to do there. So that has allowed me to like work on multiple different kinds of things that I felt were useful for the membership over the years. So different types of live streams and art tutorials and techniques and art assignments and art practice sessions, all of those things. But if in the beginning I had decided that this membership is this one thing that I will be doing every single month, then all of those like other ways to teach art and engage people in creative practice would have just not happened, because I had kind of boxed myself into doing just one template type of content. And I'm not saying this to congratulate myself, because I know that a lot of people are also actively like considering doing something like that, and I just always see that people burn out when they box themselves into certain ways of working. If you're doing creative work and you have a community that is supporting you into creating work and tools, whether it's teaching or something else, you have to remember that like if you are the person like doing the work, you also have to actually manage yourself so that you don't burn out, because then you're no good to anybody. That happens. I think that's one of the reasons why I love running so much these days, because it's really like one hobby that I have that is absolutely not useful in any way for anybody else, that it's just for me. Nobody cares how fast or slow I run, and when I'm doing one of my practice runs, I just feel like it's fully completely for me. And it allows me to just focus on one single thing, because so much of running your own art business is about multitasking a billion things all at once, and for somebody who is as easily distracted as I am, like just sometimes just focusing on a single task can be like a huge burden to get over, especially if it's something super boring or important that it needs all of my focus, like taxes or something. I am just absolutely crawling over those deadlines, and not always on time either. By the way, is anybody playing the new Subnautica 2? Because I think that could be like an interesting game to do like a design challenge on. Like maybe design a new environment for it. Especially since I heard that it's still in early access, so maybe that could be a good one to do. The only thing that I hate about that is that I never play games that are in early access, because I have so many games to play that I'd rather just wait until they're finished rather than play when they are still being developed, because then I just get all of the finished content all in one package with all the bugs fixed and so on. So if I do a video now when it's still relevant, the game itself, then I would have to kind of spoil the game for myself by playing the early access. Your painting always looks so crisp. What's your go-to resolution? Let's see. So now we're at 6000 pixels by 3300. I think we could go a little bit higher. That took a long time. I'm gonna now do the trick that I discussed in the art talk about creating an environment that has a sense of depth without perspective. So I am creating a new layer. Let's just put this somewhere around here. And I'm gonna do noise. Scale it up quite a bit. I think this could be color noise. I'm gonna go there and set multi. What is this? It's not usable. Octaves and turbulence really doesn't matter. But I'm just scaling this up so that I have enough to work with. And then doing a Gaussian blur. And then curves. It's important that I hit the end of this valley. Scaling it down quite a bit. It's just noise, so this should be pretty safe to just duplicate and copy. Without a fear of excessive seams. If you're not sure, you can always do this. Make sure that at least the seams aren't straight. Okay, now we have this. I'm just gonna go and make sure that the colors are not that red. And then putting this into normal blend mode, but duplicating itself by copying it, adding a mask, and selecting only the mask, French icon, add, paste. Okay, I have some debris. Now I can work on the color of this. In color balance, I'm just adding a little bit more cyan and blue. Cranking down that magenta to push it into the background. I want to add it to the sides in the distance over here specifically. Just to give that sense of fake detail happening over here. And behind the turtle. Am I behind the turtle? Yes, I am. then doing the same once more, but in bigger scale. And above everything. I want to leave those like green specks in, but I just want them to be in certain parts. So I'm adding a mask, invert, and then painting over these front areas. Now here on the turtle, I am painting it over the distant parts of the turtle. And that's just one more way to kind of fake perspective here without any actual straight lines. If you're not get fancy with this, and I don't see why you wouldn't want to get fancy with this, it's underwater stuff. You can't get away with stuff. Then when I was working on like one alien themed game, I used chromatic aberration quite a lot. But only at the edges. That way you don't mess up the entire painting. So when I was working on the alien science fiction shooter thing, I was studying underwater videography, and there I noticed that a lot of the lenses that are super thick so that people can zoom in to the distant targets when they are doing underwater videos, that those lenses, they are very dirty on the edges and they kind of bend the light into these chromatic aberrations there mostly. So all of the concept art that I did for that project were kind of getting that same vibe in. I do POI spinning when I'm not painting. I paint with light in the evenings. The neighbors think I'm odd anyway. Okay. I can imagine how that might look to others who don't understand what you are doing, waving lights in the dark and then just going inside. Yeah. That's a good way to be memorable in your neighborhood, I guess. I support it. Matti Cuesta 89 is saying, what type of games do you play, Mikko? Recommend some, I'm in the search of new one. Okay. So obviously one of my favorite games of all time is Persona 4. but I would probably wait for the remake before playing that one. Currently, I'm playing Pokemon Red after it was re-released on Switch. Of course, I played it on Game Boy Color, but that's something that I play in the evenings. It's going really slowly. I am missing 2 of the badges at the moment, but I love it. I think it's one of the best Pokemon games. I might like it more than Gold, Heart Gold. Not quite sure, but like most people, Heart Gold and Silver, like they are my favorites when it comes to Pokemon games. But I also have Pokemon games that I bought when the 3DS eShop was closing down. So I have at least one more linear Pokemon game, because I prefer linear games in those more. I don't think that everything needs to be open world. I mean, it's great for some games like Breath of the Wild. I love. It wouldn't work any other way. Then on the Steam Deck, sometimes in the mornings I am playing a game called Silent Hope. I love the way that that game looks like, and I was just explaining today that I mostly bought it because it really looks like one game that I worked on. That game never got released, but it's my understanding that the assets and the visual look that we did, it got sold to another company. So it was super pretty game. Terrible gameplay, like absolutely nothing to salvage there. But it was super pretty, and the art team did an amazing job. Anyway, when I saw Silent Hope, I thought like, wow, that kind of looks like what we did back then. And it's just a super simple game. You dive deep into this dungeon hole and you beat up some monsters. You can be a farmer and beat up some monsters. And there's very little dialogue or story, but it's super fun and somehow very relaxing. I feel like I can play that just for 5 minutes and then continue with my workday. Pokemon I'm playing currently as my evening game, but also Picross has always been my evening game, especially if I am feeling a little bit stressed. Picross is always the game that will be able to sort of shut down my mind and help me relax. It doesn't really matter what version of Picross you play, like they're all equally good. Like you can't go wrong. Like they're all fine. But the controllers matter. Like having a good clicky D-pad makes Picross a lot more fun to play, because every click you are sort of like counting numbers all the time. And that moment when a Picross puzzle sort of like starts solving itself, it's never not magical. So you have to be a certain kind of person to like those, but I love them. I think those are the main games I'm playing at the moment. I was playing Persona 5 before I switched to Pokemon Red, but I will probably get back to that after my life starts feeling more normal. Right now I'm multitasking so many things that I just felt like being able to play Pokemon, and it's relatively accessible to everybody. I'm not saying that like it's too easy or anything, but I do think that Pokemon is like super accessible. And I feel like I can play Pokemon badly and still make some progress in it. So right now I just felt like it's able to offer me something that something like Persona game can't do. And if I'm completely honest, I don't think that the writing in Persona 5 is grabbing me the same way that 4. 4 is just life-changingly good game, honestly. Also feel free to recommend me some games, but I'm probably like backlogged all the way until health freezes over. I have so many great games I haven't even started. Like for example, Dredge is just like one of the 3 different fishing games that I haven't even started. It's very rare for me to like start playing any fishing game that I didn't like, at least on some level. And I do realize that there's a certain level of disconnect with the painting that I'm making and my love for fishing games. It's not great. I am mostly vegan these days, so it's not like I eat that much fish. Dave the Diver with this painting. I have Dave the Diver. That's one of those 3 fishing games that I haven't started yet. But Blasphemous is probably not the kind of game that I would at this moment be interested in. It's just the dark themes sort of affect me in such a deep level that I can play few of those games and like them, but like for example the From Software productions, I liked Demon's Souls, and then I absolutely loved Sekiro. But the other games, like, no, they don't just like affect me the same way. I feel like I can only take that much like dark fantasy, and then I'm feel like, okay, I've seen this. I know where this is going. I don't need another round of the same stuff again. Not that there's anything wrong with liking those games, it's just I know my limits. I think Sekiro also had a little bit more visual like variety, so it didn't feel like just playing Demon's Souls again. Final Fantasy 15, it has a moving story, and yet a lot of the game consists of chatting around campfire with gorgeous prose and fishing. Yes, 15 has very doable main characters. Are we talking about the same game? 15? Yes, 15. And the fishing mechanics were like unnecessarily good. Like, it was so good the way that you can acquire new lures and the locations where you fish, and just sitting in a fishing spot and watching the day go by. And it actually matters where you throw your lure into and how you reel it in. Great fishing game. Not a, like, my favorite Final Fantasy game, but amazing fishing game. Like, probably the only absolutely AAA fishing game that exists. I think you could easily charge that same price tag for a game that just had those fishing things. If people weren't expecting it to also be a Final Fantasy game, I think the fishing mechanics would easily carry that game. There's also one super good like underwater swimming game called Lodolnaut on Steam that I highly recommend. It's very short, but it's just so good. You are underwater and you are cleaning up the underwater world and creating these livable environments for different sea creatures. And the vibes are just amazing in that game. I highly recommend it. kind of always want to add bubbles, even though I know that there aren't just like bubbles underwater. They're just fun to paint. It's like sprinkles. Toppings on a cake or a cupcake. I think we are kind of running out of music. Is that a sign for me to stop? I'm just gonna do a quick flip. Maybe try to press more music. Is it working? No. No game suggestions for me, besides Blasphemous and Dave the Diver, which honestly are good suggestions. I am kind of a... As long as I've liked video games, I've also loved video game journalism. That's also the way that I have learned English language. So when we were living in these different places when I was a kid, I would have these glossy video game magazines that I didn't understand how to read. And I've always been somehow like weirdly addicted to like reading about video games. And now, of course, it's watching certain channels on reviews on video games. But I don't think that video game journalism exists anymore in that same sort of like analytical way when it comes to just reviews, like it did in the days of Edge, for example. I don't think there's like a video channel equivalent doing what Edge was doing in video game journalism. I don't think that slot has been filled by anybody else. It's the level of like good writing about video games. But now channels that like cover video games, I think that way it's possible to find these sort of like small indie productions that aren't of interest to something like IGN, for example. Like they only cover like super big games or indie games if they have already proven to be popular. They only care about the high level of clicks. But there are channels that kind of like highlight these sort of lesser known productions, and I think that's always super cool. There's like somehow like a serious look on this turtle, which is not at all intentional. I'm trying to make it look a little bit more friendly. Or maybe this turtle just has places to be. Did I say that I'm quitting this painting session and here I am like doing eyeball reflections? I'm gonna do a lighten layer, and this is just to wash away some of the contrast, or maybe lighter color. But there's like more distant things to create some sort of like separation here. That's pretty good. I'm gonna use that same for this fin. And then just reduce the opacity of this to make it a subtle effect. One thing I love about painting any type of like animals or creatures is that like they end up having their own personality, whether you intend that to happen or not. And it just shows like the value of all kinds of creatures in a way. Even if it's a creature that you are just inventing in that session when you're painting it, I think it's just always magical and fun to feel like you are creating this bond with the creature that you are part of the creation process of in the painting. His name could be Bubbles. Yeah, I think Bubbles is a good name. There's something about like these that feel still slightly too smooth to me. That's it, Bubbles. You're doing it. You're going places. Maybe tortoise needs more beak. It's unhappy without its beak. I don't know. Is it? I kind of like that sort of like edge, like of just like thin edge of blue that is happening here. Very subtle, but like just, I don't know what, but there's something about it that I really like. I like the pink as well. It doesn't make any sense, but I think that's what you get sometimes when you just don't follow logic. Sometimes you end up with something unique that you can get excited about. Doesn't happen always, but I think that's the fun part about art. There's no guarantees. You're not owed anything just because you spent a certain amount of time on your painting. But when it happens, damn, is it nice and rewarding and exciting just to be there. It's almost like creativity is like, hey, you're working here and we appreciate that. You can have this thing. I don't know what these are, but they felt necessary. This is just adding the like additional like vignette layer on top of everything. Let's write my name somewhere. dear, it won't be distracting and destroying the entire painting. Feel quite big. I don't think your name is that important in a painting. Just a tag. And that's the painting. Thank you to everybody who preserved through the difficulty of starting this stream, but I think it was worth it. I love the pink. Photosynthesis makes bubbles. Also lots of marine mammals. Bubbles are kind of... okay, that's cool. Also, not really part of this art stream in any way, but just out of curiosity, like if you have some like, if you're watching this later or now, if you have any game recommendations that you would like to give me, I think you have a pretty good idea based on this, what kind of games I like to play, then by all means drop them in the comment section. I always looking for new interesting experiences. Also, I've done some like concept art design challenges on some of my videos where I have taken a game and designed a completely new look or area for that game. Like if you have any sort of like games that could be interesting candidates for those sort of videos, let me know that as well. But I'm not going to do fan art if that's what you're looking for. Thank you everybody for joining this stream, and I'll look forward to painting more stuff with you in the next session. Okay, thank you. Bye.